Welcome to another episode on our channel. A couple episodes ago, you saw a remake of an office decor 1/6 scale motorcycle that I had for years lying around for some time without handlebars. And then we made some handlebars out of a metal rod that had rusted through that I found in an adjacent lot. And when I was starting to make the post-apocalyptic figures, I thought, well, maybe one should have this motorcycle. And so we redid it. We repainted it. I made saddlebags for it, bedding, and a rifle scabbard for it, and put a rifle in it. So the saddlebags and the rifle scabbard came from a leather wallet. I showed you how to do it. It was really satisfying when it all came together, and it looked so cool. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll have a figure posed next to the motorcycle or sitting on the motorcycle and have other things like a small diorama. I thought, what else would a person with a motorcycle might need in order to survive in the wild? And I thought a tent would be one thing. So we ended up making a tent. And here it is. I put the wood in just right. So this is just 2 thin pieces of wood. They're not even taped together on the inside of this canvas, but they're held together by the canvas. The canvas was off-white and it was painted OD green, olive drab green. There you go. Almost said olive oil green, olive drab green. And it looks pretty, it looks weathered. And the neat thing about canvas is it absorbs paint, not evenly, but in different ways, depending on how much you're spraying on it. Even if you try to do it evenly, it's still going to absorb it differently, depending on the material. So other than the tent, I decided to make a poncho as well. And I just, for illustrative purposes, I put it on my zombie. And you can even see it's more evident how the material absorbed the paint. It has a natural weathered look to it. And it has a starchy feel. You can kind of fold it, and put more creases in it. I've read with weathering, you can do it in so many different ways. You can do it with paint, dry brushing things. You can take sandpaper. So if I wanted more of the off-white to show through, just sandpaper different places. There are seam rippers. If you wanted to create openings or rips in the fabric, you can use a seam ripper to do that, to give it an even more tattered look. But I think this turned out well. So we'll pause. We won't go all the way around with the tent, just show you one side to the other, and then get this guy on there so you can see the poncho from all sides. And then I'll show you something else I completed. So we'll be right back. I don't think I really need to turn this. A tent is a tent. So it's basically 2 pieces of wood laid together, canvas wrapped around it, and put in place, and then bent, sewed at the bottom to keep it from, collapsing, basically. There's a pole here. There should be a pole in the back. The neat thing about this is that it was canvas to begin with, and we used OD paint, olive drab paint, and it absorbed the paint in different ways. So it has kind of a nice weathered look to it as is. So here's our tent. I think the poncho is going to be far more interesting to see. We are back, and a zombie isn't likely going to be wearing a poncho, but I just grabbed him and put this on. It's just kind of rectangular, not exactly square, but rectangular, and I just put a hole in the middle, and then we painted it in OD green, olive drab green. And with this piece, more so than the tent, it absorbed the paint even much more profoundly differently in different spots on the canvas here. So it really looks weathered. Now, could we make it look even more weathered? Yeah, we could take some sandpaper to it and kind of do a little more artwork, I guess, on the poncho if we wanted to. If we wanted to give it a more tattered look, they have things you can get from sewing places or Amazon called a seam ripper. So you can actually put rips in the fabric to give it, again, a more tattered look if you want. Some people weather by dry brushing certain parts of clothing, like on a pair of jeans, all the seams on the jeans could be maybe brown paint or something that looks dingy, grimy, dirty, that sort of thing. So all sorts of ways to weather things. This is one way. The neat thing about this is with the paint is that it kind of gives it a starchy feel. So you can actually put, creases in it, and you can get it closer to the body. It just looks neat. So we'll go around so you can see it from all angles. So there you go. Now, again, you wouldn't see it on a zombie, but on somebody else, it would look great. But this gets us started, at least in terms of seeing it on something. So we'll pause now and get a tighter close-up so you can see the weathering effect a little bit more closely. So I think you can see more details now with the canvas and how the paint was absorbed. And it's just a ripped out hole here to put over the head. The zombie head, if you remember, was a head from the French Guardsman from Ignite. One of the worst head sculpts I've ever seen. So I thought, well, maybe I can do something to make it look better. And I think this actually improves upon the look of that head, which allows me to segue to another head I finished up today. So we'll pause and I'll bring that head out. So if you remember, I had 3 heads that I wanted to redo because I didn't really like their portrayals of Andy Garcia, Jude Law, and Keanu Reeves. They didn't really look as authentic as they could have looked. And so I opted just to change the head completely. Jude Law I made into a musketeer. And this is Andy Garcia. So I put long hair on him. I put more hair on the front part of his head, and I put this big mustache on him. I'm not sure I'm in love with it yet, but it just shows you how drastically you can change a head sculpt if you want to. Now, he really didn't look like Andy Garcia before, but he looks nothing remotely like Andy Garcia now. We'll get a quick close-up and call it a day today. I had a beard on him at first, and I didn't like it, so I took it off. And I don't know if I'm really in love with this particular head sculpt, but I can always change things. But for now, I think it looks better than the head I had originally. So anyway, we'll just turn him side to side here. right. So no longer Andy Garcia. Here's one last look at our tent, our poncho liner, and the head sculpt that I made out of Andy Garcia that is no longer Andy Garcia. So I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you have, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, everyone, please have a great day.